Alright guys, so a number of you asked me to do an update video on my jumper T-Lite because I haven't made any new content on it since I made several videos about 3.5 months ago. So yeah, I've been using it. It's still my daily driver. I guess I never made a video that it's my daily driver like I did for the Tango 2. And yeah, I switched to this and I've been using it pretty much every day. I have tried other radios, of course, for reviews and stuff, but this is the one that I pretty much take everywhere. I fly and review everything with this radio. And I actually took it on my road trip video. I think I put up the first video out like a few days ago. Anyway, this is the same original one that was in the original videos. I did buy 3 of these because I am well aware of jumpers' quality control issues. So knowing that this one will probably die at some point, probably sooner than expected, I ended up buying 3 of them. They all still work. I've been kind of, I took them out of the box and make sure that they're all working. They're basically my backups because I really like the gimbals on this radio and the feel of the weight and the feel in my hands of when I'm using it as a controller for flying stuff, which is why, because I like it so much, I bought 2 more, and they're just backups, just sitting in a box still. They're not actually being used, but I did test them, they are working. And I sold my Tango 2 Pro, so I don't have that anymore. I really wanted to give that a shot because it did feel good in the hands in terms of the weight and the ergonomics. I just could not get the gimbals to feel the way that these do, even though these are probably way cheaper and lower quality gimbals. These just feel better to me. So it's hard to explain. It's just a subjective kind of a thing. I think I took apart that Tango 2 so many times and replaced the springs and just adjusted all kinds of things. I just never got the gimbals to feel the way I want to. Now, granted, if you want to go back and look at my older videos on the T-Lite, the Tango 2, in terms of the quality of the parts and the engineering and everything, is definitely a better radio than this one. This is a cheap radio, $65. You just can't really compare in terms of quality and support and all that kind of stuff. And the integration of Crossfire and everything is much better on that one. It's just the overall experience is going to be better on that versus this one. It's just that since I know how to deal with all the little issues with this radio, I decided the gimbal feel was more important to me, so I decided to go with this one. Now, this is, maybe you guys don't know, but if you have seen the previous videos, you know that this one is actually broken. When I did my testing with the Crossfire Nano transmitter module, before I made the power modification, I tried to run it at 1 watt, and it ended up burning like a transistor or some sort of component on the main board that controls the power that goes to the module bay here. And so that's constantly on all the time, even though the power drain on the battery is very minimal. Like, I could leave this as it is, powered off, with the power coming onto those 2 pins there, pretty much like for a week, and I'll lose like 1/10 to 2/10 of a volt. You can see here I'm fully charged here. I just charged this up last night at 4.2 volts, and I can fly I fly a ton, and I can go like a whole week, and I go from like 4.2 volts down to like 3.7, 3.6 after flying a ton of packs. And then I charge it up again, just, obviously via the USB-C port in the top there, and no problems. Just take a while. It's pretty slow in terms of charging. You have to pretty much plug it in and let it charge up all night. It's pretty slow in charging, but it does charge up to 4.2 volts, as you can see here. But yeah, the power stays on those pins all the time. And I'll just show you. I'll just turn this off. And then I have this little piece of foam here to basically prevent any shorts, because I think it's these 2 on the right that are the actual power. So this is just a piece of foam that, see, there's little holes there, and I just basically cut up foam piece like this, so it kind of fits that little dimensions. It's a little bit bigger than it needs to be, but I wanted it bigger so I can grab it, and then I just slide it on like that, and it stays on there. I mean, it does pop off sometimes, but just in case I don't want to short on anything, because there is live power there, because you can see the radio is off. But as soon as I plug in the module, it will turn on right away. And there we go. And you see, you've got power right away. So normally this doesn't power on until you switch to the model that actually powers on the external module bay. But now, because my radio is not working, it is constantly setting power. But as I mentioned, it's not a big deal. Just make sure that I don't short these pins. And I do have backup radios in case I end up breaking this. But I'm like, it's a minor inconvenience. I always disconnect the module anyway, because just to fit into my bag. So it's not a big deal. It doesn't really bother me too much. Obviously, some of you guys are probably not going to like that, but yeah, not a big deal for me. Now, as you can see here, I've added this silicone covering. This is from UAV, but it's actually branded by a different company here. It's called Farmera. Yeah, I don't know. What is that? Farmera, something like that. I'm not sure. It's another Chinese brand, but it's sold by UAV from Banggood. I'll link it down below. But this thing fits really well. Surprisingly, it's like $17. I wasn't really expecting much, but they did a really good job in terms of the fit. And I like the feel of it. It's a little bit slippery, but it doesn't slip in the hands. But it does kind of, it's a soft touch. It feels cool, and it feels better than the stock material here, this soft touch here. And as you can see, I'm not sure if it's going to come out on camera. It is kind of peeling in certain spots. It's not the highest quality material. It's a cheap radio. So, and also like you'll scratch in certain spots and it'll start peeling. This surface layer is just like a coating, and it will come off. And so this little silicone cover actually will help prevent that from happening. It'll protect that. And the other thing it does is it keeps this battery cover from popping off. You can see it's kind of loose. So every once in a while, this will just pop off. But now with this little covering, it actually keeps it on there. It does, it's still loose, but it won't fall off anymore. So I do like that a lot as well. And then these little switch covers here, these are from Race Day Quads. They're actually from my T12. I've had these for a long time. But yeah, you can see this thing fits super nice. The only thing that is a kind of a pain is that because the thickness of this silicone covering, which isn't really that thick, and because these buttons are so low profile, it does make the buttons a little bit harder to press. You can either press down kind of in the middle like this. You can hear that, or you have to kind of hit your fingernail in here and do that as well, but it's not that big of a deal. The main power button, not a big deal here. And then, getting into the radio settings, just press down like that. It's workable. It's not, I still haven't kind of quite gotten used to it because the buttons are kind of depressed now instead of raised up. So not a big deal, but just something worth mentioning. But yeah, this thing fits really, really well. It wasn't like kind of half-assed put together. They actually must have gotten the CAD files from Jumper to get this to fit pretty much exactly right. And I really like the way it fits. Unfortunately, it only comes in black. I wish it would come in other colors. Maybe down the road it will. If it does, I'm going to probably switch the color out because I like customization. But yeah, this is only in black at this moment. But yeah, I really like this a lot. Anyway, I still haven't gotten the Nano Module for the Express LRS 2.4 gigahertz. That is, which I think it was just announced a few days ago. I saw some photos that they're going to send it to me. I'll have an update video later, obviously, with that, and I'm going to be using it for the T-Lite. I think it's made specifically for the T-Lite because it deals with the power problems, obviously with the stock right now. Obviously, I've modified mine, so I'm not sure how that's going to work with my modified version. I think it's meant for the stock version. But that's a topic for a totally separate video. But yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on this guy. It's working. It hasn't been giving me any problems. It's been very reliable. I do know that some people have had issues where it doesn't power up anymore or the buttons stop working. And this is, not that surprising. I mean, honestly, like I think I mentioned it in the very first video I made about the T-Lite, jumper's quality control isn't, that great. And then they engineered this completely wrong in terms of the power setup, so that these nano modules, especially the Crossfire, takes up too much power, and you end up burning things out like I did on this one, and then you have to do like a crazy modification to fix it. So it wasn't engineered out of the box or out of the gate correctly, and they're probably using cheap components. I mean, this is a $65 radio, so given the multi-modules in here, the gimbals, and all the electronics, I mean, this is like bare bones. So the people that are shocked that things are breaking, I kind of laugh at that, because I'm like, come on, this is like a really cheap radio, and from a company that cuts corners. So this should be very well known that, if you're buying a toy radio, basically this is a toy radio, you should be buying extra ones like I did, just in case something should break, because that's what they're doing. They're cutting corners, they're cutting costs. Quality control is the first thing to go out the window. So there's going to be a higher rate of failures. And yeah, mine's working fine and great, but like, what's their failure rate? Maybe 10%, 15%. So I'm one of the 85% that got a good one. And then there's probably like 10, 15% of you out there who got a dud. So that's why, if you really do like this radio and intend to use it for a while, I would say get another one. I mean, it's going to cost you twice as much, but you'll have some spare parts down the road if you need to, switch some stuff out and make your own repairs or whatever. But or have it just a complete backup in case one just dies on you. But yeah, this one's fine. I'm kind of expecting it to die at some point, but it hasn't, and I always carry a spare around with me. But it's working no problem. I haven't done any of the firmware updates either. Like, it's still the stock firmware that came from the factory, 2.3.11, I think. I do know that the nightly builds add like the crossfire shot, I think, or that might actually already be in here, I think. But it may add some additional features that I don't particularly care about. Like, I don't really need, the fastest ultimate latency, super latency, whatever, because I'm not a racer. But yeah, those are probably going to come out in 2.4 when that's officially announced, but that's not out yet. So, but I haven't had any need to do that. And I've had some bad luck with some nightly builds. When I put some nightly builds on the T12 Pro when it first came out, I had some random lockups where the radio would just like freeze while middle of flying, and then I would just get a failsafe. So after that happened a couple times, I decided I'm not going to be flying nightly builds anymore at that point. So I'm just going to wait until the official build comes out after all the bugs have been ironed out before I put it on this one. Anyway, I think that's about it. 3.5 months in, still working. No real complaints. I have dropped it a few times. I've broken the antenna here. This thing pops off, but you can just pop that back on. Yeah, you can see it's kind of damaged a little bit there. I'm probably going to replace this with something else, something like a stubby, because I don't really fly that far on 2.4 gigahertz anyway, and I mainly fly Crossfire, so kind of don't really use the 2.4 gigahertz too much anyway. So I'm going to probably replace this with some kind of a stubby antenna. If you guys have any suggestions on a good one, because this is a different one than the Free Sky stubby antenna, let me know down in the comments below, because I'm still kind of looking around for that. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. If you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you guys in the next one.